Deadly assassin X7 has never failed to complete a mission. Until now. Unmasked and unarmed, he narrowly escapes from the rebels with his life, and little else. His cover may be blown, but he's not returning to Commander Rezi Sorish until his target has been eliminated. This time, he has a new plan. He'll gather 6 of the best pilots in the galaxy, all of them roguish mercenaries who care only about money, and turn them loose on Red Squadron. He counts on his pilots' mercenary instincts to keep them in line, but one of them has a secret that could cost X7 his victory.
And Happy New Year from Padawan Library. Tim already getting the year off with a bang, opening a Coke, taking a big guzzle. That's Tim May I'm talking about. I'm Levi Paratic, and this is the Star Wars Junior Novel Podcast. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
This week we're talking about Rebel Force number 4 by Alex Wheeler. The book is called Firefight. And as you know, Firefight, we are talking about firefighters, of course. I know a lot of you probably have your new hunky fireman calendars out for the new year. You had to get a new one. You got to support the local fire department, I support Blue Lives, as in U.S. Postal Service workers and firefighters. So I support the Red Lives too.
It's interesting. I'll see those, they're like the Blue Lives Matter flags, but for firefighters. Mm-hmm. And, I don't want to open any sort of Pandora's box. Maybe there's I'm sure there are, at least in some localities, lots of corruption within the fire department and all that. I'm sure that exists. But as a concept, who is against firefighters?
I know, right?
Is that a part of our culture? That needs to be defended. If you find out my new girlfriend's dad is a firefighter, are you I'm worried about that? No, I don't know. I get it that they work with cops all the time, so I'm sure they're all
the only people who should be against the fire department are arsonists, like Ronald in the movie.
Oh, Ronald's played by Donald.
Yeah.
So because of that, we're going to talk about Backdraft. I did want to say, this is our first new episode in a while, and this is the beginning of the work we have. Including this episode, we have 5 episodes left.
I know.
Because we have 2 more books in this series, then we have to finish off Jedi Prince with my brother, and then we have the finale. Whatever form that takes. We haven't really figured that out.
No, we haven't. But, we're trying, and I'll say this.
I have a couple ideas.
We're trying to make surprises. We're trying to have some surprises.
I have a couple ideas. We'll have to talk about it off air.
I have one surprise that I want to have happen, and I can't tell you about, and because it's going to be an on-air surprise.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's going to happen. So
okay, we'll keep going. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, so let's enjoy these last several episodes, and maybe we won't be gone forever. Who knows? But this is. But we're sticking with our format from last season, at least for this episode. We'll see. Might get a little more Star Wars focused as we close in on the end there. But
yeah, I don't know what we're doing for next week. You have an idea for Trapped next week?
I do.
Okay, good, because
we'll talk about it at the end. So anyway, the movie we're discussing this week is from the director of Solo, a Star Wars story.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Backdraft. It's directed by Ron Howard, of course.
1991.
91, the year of our birth.
Yep.
By the way, happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Happy birthday.
You remembered.
And I remembered earlier today, I was like, oh shit. Anyway, so
I got I'll share this for the listeners. I got a Din Djarin lightsaber. Not a dark saber. They have these series of lightsabers out that look like characters. So they have one that looks like Darth Vader. One
so
that
the hilt
like Luke.
looks like a...
Yeah, it has. I don't have it near me or else I'd show you. But the hilt looks like Din. It's got a little helmet at the top, and the hilt is his body. And then you flick it out, and it has an orange blade, a really short orange blade. So apparently there's a Grogu too. I'm looking for Grogu.
That's very silly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So the only vaguely Star Wars related thing I have going on outside of the podcast and Book of Boba Fett, which I haven't watched this week's yet.
Oh, damn it.
Oh, sorry. Last week's was very silly and fun, though. Danny Trejo showing up as the Rancor trainer. What a wild time.
I know. I agree.
But me and friend of the show, foe of the show, Sam McCauley, are going to go tomorrow to the theater to see a quote-unquote new film starring Pierce Brosnan called The King's Daughter.
The King's Daughter? You're going to see The King's Daughter?
This movie was shot in 2014. And now
2014?
2014. What? You don't know this?
No, I don't know the history.
I didn't know if it's spread, if there's articles on Slash Film or whatever.
I saw the trailer for this with Belle last week, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, no, it was shot in 2014. It was going to be released by Paramount in April 2015. The effects weren't finished, supposedly, and so they pushed the release, and now it's changed hands in terms of rights, dozens of times. Okay. We will talk about Backdraft and we will talk about the book.
But we got to talk about this. This is news to me.
This is absolutely crazy. Okay,
because now this movie is on my radar.
The reason this is vaguely Star Wars related at all is that it is based on a novel of a different title that I can't remember right now by Vonda N. McIntyre, who wrote a Star Wars book that was widely loathed in the 90s called The Crystal Star. And this is why Sam is interested. But this movie, the rights to the book were bought in 2000. There was a screenplay written with several drafts. Natalie Portman was cast in one of the lead roles. This is in 2001, 2002. So early 2000s. And it was going to be and there was a draft of the screenplay written by James Schamus. Now, if you don't know that name, James Schamus was, I guess, but for a very long time was Ang Lee's writing partner. So, has written some of the greatest movies ever made. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And before and after this time period, he was writing incredible movies, for Ang Lee. So, that winds up not happening for whatever reason. The movie goes into turnaround. Then by 2014, I guess, some version of it gets remounted with a bargain basement director. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's made mostly straight to video crap. His next movie is a bargain basement Reagan biopic starring Dennis Quaid.
Sean McNamara.
Sean McNamara. He's nothing. He's not a significant filmmaker in any way.
Soul Surfer, that shark surfer movie.
Soul Surfer. I think that's a Pure Flix Christian movie, isn't it?
No, it's hang on, who's in that? It's
I feel like that's what it is.
it's the one about the surfer who loses her arm in a shark attack.
I do think that it's like and then she like.
Yeah, you're probably right.
She meets Jesus or whatever. Not literally, you know.
That would be the soul part of it. Yeah, I mean, you figure the shark attack wouldn't last an hour and a half if that's how long the movie indeed is.
Oh man, if it did, it would be like the most intense, like just like nail biter thriller. So
Dennis Quaid also in that as well.
Great. One of the most like sometimes I find him acceptable in movies, and other times I find him very disposable. Anyway,
So, oh my God, this guy has made so much garbage.
Yeah, but it's all just like the biggest trash. So
like
anyway,
Geniuses and the Space Baby.
So like the third or fourth Baby Geniuses.
Yeah, from 2015. It doesn't even have a Wikipedia
So he
article.
made that after he shot this movie.
Yeah, he did.
Anyway, so this movie somehow, for whatever reason, it gets made at that time, and now it's been 6 years. I think, Good Universe, which is James Shamos's company, is now distributing it, so he might still feel some sort of investment in this. I don't know what it is. There needs to be like I need a full breakdown of what happened.
He's still movie. Labeled as like he still has the screenplay credit.
He still has a screenplay by credit. But there's another person on there too that I don't think is a typical collaborator.
Barry Berman, who does not have a Wikipedia article.
Right, exactly. So anyway, so who knows what this is? I am excited. It's also like 98 minutes, so it's not like a huge like investment of my time. But I'm also trying to see every wide release this year, so but I'm not making any promises yet on that. But I have a letterbox list that's up for Franco if you want to look at it. I'm just why not? Nobody else knows what my letterbox is, and I won't share it with anybody. All right.
Well, friend, fellow of the show, Sam has been texting me. He definitely wants back on the show because he's got 5 new Jedi Order books left.
Yeah, and I have an idea possibly for the finale, like where we would give each of our guests from the run like 20 minutes to just talk about whatever they wanted.
That's a good idea.
So
I like that.
Basically host the show. I don't know, and then like we'd have to have like a real if they were to pick our favorite books.
We should it should be a full spectacle too. Like it should be like a clip show too, where we play like old clips.
Oh God, what a pain in the ass. But yeah. I mean, we should we should at least have everybody pick like a favorite moment or something.
Yep, we should.
Well,
we know what Franco's will be, so either when he's on the show or the legendary argument.
Oh well, that's my brother's favorite too. So we're gonna have to play that again, I guess. Anyway, so we're Backdraft. So Backdraft came out in '91, big hit, I believe. In fact, I have a list here. We'll talk about that after we talk about the movie. But
$150 million box office on a $40 million budget.
Got a Universal attraction for many years based on this movie. Still exists in some form in Universal.
Probably Japan, if I had to guess.
No, it's not Japan. It's Singapore. And it's in a new thing that's like hosted by Spielberg. It's like a making movies like.
Oh yeah, it's called Lights, Camera, Action, hosted by Steven Spielberg. Yeah, you're right. In Singapore.
They just opened a new version of it in Shanghai, and it's hosted by Spielberg and Zhang Yimou, the great Chinese director. Just, I don't know, very weird. Anyway, theme parks are strange. So,
they sure
are. This movie, though, it stars Kurt Russell playing 2 characters. Because he plays the movie opens in the early 70s, and you see Kurt Russell like with a kid. He brings his kid along on this.
He's 2 kids. Two kids.
He brings his kids along on this firefighting thing, and he.
Is that a gas line?
And he dies, and I was like, whoa, is this like some like Marion Crane kind of stuff, like, you know, some Drew Barrymore and Scream, timely reference, you know, that kind of thing. Is it that? And it's like, no, he just also plays one of the brothers when they're grown up.
He does. And I also thought he looks more like the younger brother than he does the older brother. And of course, because it's the younger brother who witnesses their father's death.
And he's played by Billy Baldwin. William Baldwin. I was looking up some stuff that I found that during the press tour for this movie, William Baldwin was told a story about how like De Niro, who's also in the movie, said like, I know like acting's in a good place because of you or something, like, and like he had to retract the story because it was made up.
That has to be why we haven't seen Billy in a while.
Well, no, I mean, he's not bad in this movie. I saw the other people up for this role were Keanu Reeves, Brad Pitt, and Robert Downey Jr., all of whom would have been better, I would say.
Yeah,
I mean, Keanu may have been depends, because he could have gone either way in this kind of role, I think.
I think Pitt would have been my preferred if I had to choose between.
Yeah, Pitt would work. I buy Pitt as Kurt Russell's younger brother. That actually, they work together. You know, I thought this movie, I like all the stuff with De Niro. I thought all that stuff was awesome. I think the brother stuff is boring.
it's like boring and like hard to watch, and like as soon as like getting into the movie, I'm just like, oh, I don't know if I can stand this. But it's like De Niro who saves it, and Donald playing Ronald. That scene was great.
Plays an arsonist named Ronald, who's been like he plays like a Hannibal Lecter style.
The same year Silence of the Lambs comes out.
And, it's the same year Silence of the Lambs, so it must be riffing on Manhunter, I guess. But it's like they go and like because De Niro plays like a fire investigator, and Billy Baldwin leaves the you know, rough and tumble world of actual firefighting and becomes a stuffed shirt fire investigator helping out De Niro, and that's like one of the brotherly conflicts, whatever. But anyway, so and in order to like solve this fire mystery, they go and like talk to like, let's get into the mind of an arsonist, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
and Donald Sutherland is fucking crazy in this movie. He's just like, because like they even go to a parole hearing where he's like pretending to like be reformed, and then De Niro's just like, what'd you do to the little girl who owned this doll? And he throws like a charred doll on it. He's just like, I watched her burn. Like he just starts like tweaking and stuff. It is insane.
I feel like they alluded without saying it that like he started the fire that killed Kurt Russell at the beginning of the movie. Like he killed his dad. But he has this whole thing with Billy Baldwin about like, oh, you like the fire touched you, didn't it? Like a metaphorical touch, like the fire didn't actually touch him. Like they talk about how like the fire is like alive and the fire is like a living thing. He is wild.
I have to say that I think this movie, you know, it's like a classic 3-star movie. You know, it's like very well mounted, good performances. Even Billy Baldwin's fine. You know, like, but it's like kind of, and you know, it has Jennifer Jason Leigh, who I love, in a super thankless role where her and Billy Baldwin get to fuck on top of a fire truck, you know. But they imagine that being your day, like just like Jennifer Jason Leigh, like you're one of the best actors of your generation. Today, your job involves just making out with Billy Baldwin on top of a fire truck. It's just very funny.
And then you have to write it. They get called out.
Yeah, that is fun. That was a funny shot. I mean, it's like well directed. Like you gotta like. Ron Howard is to me a very script dependent director. Like he's the ultimate journeyman. Like he's actually a great journeyman. I like separating those words like they're separate. But he's a great journeyman. He has made some great. I mean, I think like Apollo 13 is like a great movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Or like, you know, and
Solo, a Star Wars story.
I think Night Shift is a great movie. I think we don't need to fight.
The Grinch.
Yeah, but he's also made some very bad movies. He's just like very all over the place. Actually, Rush. Did you see Rush?
No, I didn't, but I heard Rush is
racing?
good.
That's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Solid movie. But this is kind of one of his bigger hits, especially at the time it came out. And he's good at the basics, like the firefighting sequences are well staged. It's very impressive because it's all obviously pre-CGI, and so it's like all this real fire and shit, and you're like, damn, they're close to that fire. They
were real close to that fire.
So there's some cool stuff like that. I think the subplot should have been the A plot. Like if it was just like a procedural about fire investigators with De Niro, I'd be like, I agree. That's a better movie. And De Niro is giving such a cool, understated, perform. I think he's really fun in the movie. Yeah.
Scott Glenn also,
I love
he was
Scott
great
Glenn.
in the movie. He was really good at it.
He's always good. I mean, he's like the ultimate, that's the ultimate guy who, you can just rely on him. He will never be bad.
Clint Howard also makes a cameo in the movie.
Of course. Was the kid at the beginning a child of either him or
Clint? Find out.
Either Ron or Clint, because he looked very Opie-like to me. I don't know.
I also want to say apparently David Crosby, of Hook. He was. He made that movie
of Hook.
Of Hook, yeah, David Crosby of Hook, yeah, the movie
he made. You know who David Crosby is?
Yes, I do.
Is? Who he actually is?
Yeah, Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Okay. The Birds. Okay. I just want to make sure that you're not because you said it so casually. I was like, is he just fucking with me?
I knew it would piss you off.
Okay.
Anytime Hook is mentioned, you're just like, grrr,
well, we'll be talking about it in a minute here. So.
All right, I gotta see what's so Brian McCafferty. I need to find young Brian McCafferty.
I just feel like he looks very much like Opie.
I could. Okay, no, his name is Ryan Todd, and let's see, what else was he in? Probably he was in first. He was in First Night.
Oh, wow.
And he was in Last Action Hero.
Okay.
And he has a visual effects credit on Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, so he's, working in the visual effects industry.
Okay, actually, yeah, he is, because he's got a Ready Player One as
good
well.
For him.
He was a set assistant on Frost Nixon, a production assistant on Heroes.
Frost Nixon is Ron Howard paying it forward.
Oh, wow, damn.
Okay, you're grown up now. I'll give you a job.
Ron doesn't forget.
Yeah. That's good. That's nice. Anyway, so, all right. It's always nice to hear something like that. All right. So I have here the top 20 grossing films of the domestic box office of the year 1991, the year of our birth.
Mm-hmm.
This is just such a different time in movies. I feel like we should, but also similar in some ways. We're going to go, I guess, 20-1. Why not? Let's count all the way up.
Right.
Number 20, comedy with a big 70s movie star who was not a comedy guy.
Okay.
And one of the biggest comedy movie stars of all time, from the 80s. But he's still a very, now if he's in a movie, it's still notable, a big deal. Even currently.
It's not Eddie Murphy you're talking about, right?
No, but also was on SNL, although not at the same time as Eddie Murphy. He's part of not quite the original cast of SNL. He comes in year 2.
Okay. Well, that's Bill Murray then.
Okay.
Is that What About Bob?
What About Bob with him and Dreyfus?
Yeah, Ricky. Him and Ricky.
You've been calling him Ricky lately. It makes me laugh very much.
Well, because there's some behind the scenes thing where George is talking about Ricky. He calls Richard Dreyfuss Ricky, and I've always called him Ricky.
Oh my God, that's the most Lucas shit. All right, so number 19. I've never heard of this movie, but it shows that every 10 years there's a big nature documentary hit.
Mm-hmm.
and even they recycle the same type of nature documentary. If you remember when we were in high school, there was the huge hit, March for the Penguins, of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a movie called Antarctica that was an IMAX movie that made $65 million in 1991 and was about penguins in Antarctica. Like, it was just like... and then number 18, this was kind of a parody movie, one of those, it was kind of, I mean, there's obviously started towards the tail end of that phase, but it was there was one sequel to this movie. It starred a classic bad boy of the 80s who remains a bad boy.
Is it Charlie Sheen?
Yes.
Is it Hot Shots?
Yes. All right. Number 17, we've got. God, this movie this was a blockbuster. I mean, it's a great movie. This movie is directed by a maniac. It's stars pretty much everybody. We've talked a lot about the main star of this movie lately. He's also, Kevin Costner. It's got pretty much everybody. It's about a very controversial subject.
Oh, it's not JFK, is it?
It is JFK.
JFK?
Yes. A movie that is truly deranged, but also a masterpiece.
Yeah, I agree. So I've been watching Seinfeld again, but I've been watching it with the Spanish dub to try to brush up on Spanish, nice. I kind of enjoy it. I like the performances of the main characters, but I recently watched the JFK episode with Keith Hernandez, and Keith Hernandez. I say it all the time to myself, Keith Hernandez, like.
Oh, such a funny episode. I mean, everybody did a JFK episode in the 90s. There's a great Simpsons episode. And yeah, I mean, a wild movie. Number 16, a movie directed by Barbra Streisand. Streisand. Sorry. Streisand. Streisand.
Are you fucking with me? Or it's Streisand.
It's The Prince of Tides. This movie made $75 million. Like, God, like...
That's a huge amount of money.
Okay. Number 15, the final film in the first phase of this franchise, based on a TV show. I love this shit. I'm a big fan of this shit.
Oh, is it Star Trek?
Yeah, Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, a very good one. Number 14 is Backdraft.
All right.
$77 million at the domestic box office. Huge hit. Number 13, a sequel. This one has a cameo by a rapper, but not a kind of very flavor of the month kind of rapper.
Okay.
Not a guy that lasted, but a guy that famously didn't last. So like he's still like famous because he was like such a flash in the pan.
Okay. Not helping.
It's a sequel to a movie I really like. This movie I like less. This rapper, by the way, also wrote a song, or performed a song, I should say. Probably didn't write it. Performed a song for the soundtrack, which is pretty famous and pretty, especially amongst people our age, I would say.
Damn, it's not coming to me.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Oh, Vanilla Ice.
The Secret of the Ooze, which is a great subtitle. Number 12, a movie directed by Martin Scorsese. No more clues.
91. Oh, what did he do in 91?
It also shares a star from Backdraft.
Oh, well, De Niro, it's...
that doesn't narrow it down that much, I guess.
No, it doesn't. That's still so wide. I don't think Goodfellas is 91.
No, that's 1990.
Okay.
Well,
then
it's
it's
the direct
Casino.
follow. No,
Is it Casino?
Casino's later.
Oh.
Hey, have you seen this movie, Cape Fear?
Oh, I've seen Cape Fear, yeah.
It's Cape Fear.
Yeah.
A wild fucking
It is a wild fucking movie. That's since I watched Nightmare Alley today, the original, and that's one of those movies where the original and the remake are both like great. Like they're both good movies.
Yeah, I love both those movies, yeah. Number 11. what kind of clues for this? I mean, this is like a classic mom movie.
Okay.
A lot of kind of middle-aged women. No shots in that regard. Just saying, like Bette Midler, I think. I think Bette Midler's in this, right?
Okay.
Anyway, name of a food. The
Name of a food. Oh, it's this isn't Mystic Pizza, is it?
No, it's fried green tomatoes.
Oh, okay. I would have never guessed that.
Number 10. We're in the top 10. Another parody movie, the second film in a venerable parody franchise.
Naked Gun.
That's the franchise. Can you name the second movie?
It's Naked Gun like 2.5, isn't it?
Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear. Oh, great title.
I did not know The Smell of Fear was the subtitle of that movie.
Oh, yes, indeed. Number 9, we got Diane Keaton is one of the stars. Not the top star, the second build star. The first build star is also became famous around the same time as her, probably late 70s.
Not a Woody Allen movie, I assume.
No, I mean he became famous in the 60s, so
yeah.
I feel like I eliminated him that way.
Well, he's like Diane, so
no, fair enough, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I got nothing.
And Steve Martin is the other star. Do you know the movie?
Oh, Steve Martin. That's Steve Martin 91. That's not what's the name of that movie? The one they like remade into the musical with Peter Dinklage.
Oh, you mean Roxanne?
Yeah, Roxanne. It's not Roxanne.
You know Roxanne's not the original Cyrano de Bergerac, right?
Yeah, I'm aware.
Okay, I'm just saying you're aware. So, no, it's Father of the Bride, which is also a remake.
Oh,
It was a remake of I believe, a Spencer Tracy movie. I'm probably wrong on that. Anyway, number 8. Julia Roberts was in Pretty Woman the year before. What's she going to follow it up with? An intense thriller.
Julia Roberts, intense thriller. I don't know. I'm not as brushed up on Julia as I should be.
Yeah. Sleeping with the Enemy.
Okay.
Yeah, Julia's coming up again in a couple slots here. Number 7. This movie was directed by the Coen brothers cinematographer, who then went on to have a big directing career of his own. This movie got a sequel that he also directed. The sequel probably better than the original. This movie stars many people, though, that you would like.
Many people.
It has a big ensemble cast. It has, for example, the female lead is the scion of a great Hollywood family.
Many people.
And the younger female lead, actually just had a cameo in a movie that came out like 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago.
Or a month maybe now at this point.
Okay. It's Christina Ricci you're talking about? Okay. What was Christina in 91?
And this is one of her most famous movies, I would say.
It's not Casper, I know that. Nothing's coming to me. I can't believe this has a sequel too.
The Addams Family, you freak.
Oh, damn.
No, I can't believe it has a sequel. I'm just like... I should have said it was a reboot or something.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 6. We mentioned it earlier in this show. And my feelings towards it.
What were we talking about earlier? Silence of the Lambs? It's not Silence of the Lambs, is it?
We'll get to that.
I know that's on the list,
Yeah, we'll get to that. It's a movie that most people our age love, and I don't like.
Goonies?
No, that's
we didn't
earlier.
talk about that.
That's earlier.
Beauty and the Beast.
I love Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
We'll get to that. Jeez.
Did we even talk about Belle on air? I don't think we did.
No, we did not. We did not.
Okay, that was the pre-conversation. It's not coming to me.
Julia Roberts also in this movie.
Oh, Pretty Woman?
No.
Or Mystic
She's
Pizza?
not the main character in this movie, but she's in this movie. The other star of the movie is a very famous comedian. It's directed by a very famous director. Like a very, very famous director. Let's see. It's also got a musician from a band from the 60s plays a major role in this movie.
Oh, Hook.
I was like, I cannot believe you're not getting this. Now, that movie made $119 million.
I was just literally about to guess, so David Crosby, and then I was like, oh, wait, that is the movie, you idiot.
That movie made $119 million. Number 5 made $124 million. And this is a movie that's very important to this show because we had one of my favorite moments in the history of this show talking about the sequel to this movie and the sequel's subtitle, which is about a legend of Curly's Gold.
Oh, City Slickers.
The first City Slickers made $125 million, outgrossed Hook. I watched City Slickers. We didn't talk about it on the show. I watched it about a year ago. A decent movie. Holds up. I think my guiltiest feeling is that I like Billy Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I feel guilty about it, but it's just like I find him very funny, just pretty casually funny. And it's a weird thing because I don't think he's in very many good movies. I think the best movies he's made by far, obviously When Harry Met Sally, and he's in one or two other really good movies. And most of his movies are just okay, but I find him very watchable, just incredibly watchable. I don't know. Anyway, number 4, you mentioned it earlier, Silence of the Lambs. One of the best movies ever made. Number 3. The Cause, he's back, Costner. That's not my joke. Is Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
All right.
Oof. Number 2. I did not know this was 2. I would assume this is 1. It made $203 million. Adjusted, that must be 600 or something.
Mm-hmm.
T2 is number 2. So what do you think number 1 is? It only made $4 million more. It made 206.
Wow.
But it's also a super famous movie.
I'm sure it is. And
we just mentioned it earlier in the show. And we also talked about a movie that's sort of related to it before the show started.
Sort of related to it before we were discussing. Oh, is it Dick Tracy?
First of all, that's 1990. And second of all,
you love Dick Tracy.
I do. I said before the show. We haven't talked about Dick Tracy.
No, we talked about Madonna, though, because I just watched Desperately Seeking Susan.
Great movie. I forgot Madonna is in another great movie, and it's Dick Tracy. Thank you for reminding me.
Yes. I can't believe you forgot.
I know. I want the poster of her so bad. There's a poster that got pulled from theaters because parents complained because it was Madonna, and it was her character poster, and it was whatever. The picture wasn't the thing, but it said, what was the exact line? It said, she doesn't even say it in the movie. Look this up for me. I need to know.
Yeah.
And then we can take a break. And the top movie is Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, okay. Mind if I call you Dick?
Mind if I call you Dick is the line, which she doesn't even say. I think it's somebody else says it in the movie. But regardless, parents got so outraged that this poster was hanging up in public that all of them got pulled. So if that one sheet goes for $1,000, it's crazy.
Wow.
Anyway, but so I got the Dick one.
Mm-hmm.
I got this summer they're out to get him. Next summer they're out to get him. That's the one I got. All right.
Yep.
Well, this was fun.
This was fun.
I had fun. I don't know. Maybe I feel like that was maybe
fun.
a waste of time. I don't know.
It's all right.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
What else is the podcast for?
It's a fun game.
Yeah, it's
You try
fun.
to guess. Yeah.
I try. Anyway, all right. So when we come back, we will be talking about a Star Wars book. We will be talking about Firefight, which is part of the Rebel Force series, which was written by Alex Wheeler, which is also part of the larger Star Wars publishing initiative that has now gone back 40 plus years. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to Padawan Library. I'm Tim May, here as always with Levi Paratic.
Hello.
And like I said before the break, this week we were talking about the book Firefight, which is part of the series Rebel Force, which is written by Alex Wheeler. This book was written for the larger Star Wars publishing initiative that has lasted now more than 40 years.
Yeah.
I don't know what this bit is. I'm sorry.
When you said 40, I'm just like, oh, he's talking about the fact that it's like part of a larger book series of scholastic books that is about 40 books long.
No. I meant Star Wars books broadly have been being published since the late 70s.
They sure have.
Since 1976, actually, before the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And, even if you want to go beyond novelizations, you want to be like, the cutoff should be that, then 78 is when Splinter of the Mind's Eye comes out. So, that's well over 40 years now. We're looking at 44 years almost here. Really, it's 46 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of this year, because I think December 76 is when the novelization of Star Wars came out.
It's been around for a while.
Almost 50. We're coming up on that 50-year mark.
And we are.
What is that? The silver anniversary?
I don't know.
Or silver's like 25, right?
What's the 50th anniversary?
This doesn't matter. We're not going to be on the air when this happens. It's not that close.
Oh, that is it says that's the diamond and gold one, perhaps.
Diamond and gold.
Mm-hmm.
Do they just have the gold for people that don't want to buy the diamonds or whatever?
Hang on, let me see here. Okay.
That's weird they would have both.
That would be weird that they have both. It was just the first thing that popped up.
Is that just gold is the alternative because diamonds, it's hard to find an ethical diamond, etc.
Well, of course, I'm just getting cards for 50th anniversaries. 50th anniversary. What should I? Traditional gift. What is the traditional gift? Gold. It is the golden anniversary.
Golden, baby. All right. Speaking of gold, the trimming of the Star Wars logo on this book is gold. So let's talk about this book.
It sure is. And both of us have read this book a week ago. Am I correct?
I have to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Did you take notes on this book?
Okay, my notes, I went back to my old style notes, not detailed notes.
That's fine.
I wrote, after each chapter, I wrote just words.
Okay.
So that's what I have.
Because I did not take notes.
Okay.
And I promise you, the listener, that we were very lucky that this was the book we half-assed. Because there's not a ton of plot to go over.
No, there's not a ton of plot. This is mostly a Monster of the Week episode, a Beasties episode.
Although it has, we bring back a character.
We do bring back a character.
From Last of the Jedi.
I think, does he show up before that? Does he show up in Jedi Quest, perhaps?
I think he does,
Very young.
when he's a young boy.
Mm-hmm.
Old Loon Davinian, you might remember, was Astri... what's that?
Oh, nothing. I'm reading a text.
Oh, never.
Yeah.
Astri, our favorite character, maybe, in the history of the show.
You have gone on record to say it's your favorite expanded universe character of all time.
Well, that's a little extreme. But
that's what I thought when you said it the first time, and that's why I remember it.
She's among my favorite expanded universe characters. I love Astri. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm a fucking loser. But anyway, but I love her. But her son with Bog Divinian,
yep,
of course, is Loon Divinian. And he shows up at the beginning of this book because X7, if you remember, X7 has been revealed at the end of the previous book, the assassin. And so he escapes the rebellion, but he still wants to have Luke killed, but he can no longer get close enough to Luke because they know who he is.
Right.
So
he's definitely in a nosedive. He has taken a book from the page of Saw, and he is spiraling because his master, whoever the one Imperial guy, has said you need to come back to home base for reconditioning, which is presented almost in this psychosexual way where it's all about like pain and like being obedient. It's in like he's just like, I kind of need it because I'm getting all these feelings, but this Luke Skywalker character has pissed me off because I've tried to kill him multiple times. He won't die. So now he has this big master plan. He knows Luke is a great pilot, but will he be a match for the 10 greatest pilots in the galaxy? So he invites these 10 pilots to this desolate moon base. And when they all get there, they get into orbit and they're about to land. And X7, like the maniac he is, takes out he has like a giant like anti-aircraft gun, and he is shooting the ships down. He manages
to find out who the best pilots are.
Yes,
basically.
And he narrows it down from 10 to 5. Then we and also this is, I love how should note how the intro of this book is written. It deals with the backstories of 4 pilots, and of the 4 pilots, 3 of them are killed.
Yeah, that was very cool. I liked that.
I liked it.
But he winds up though with a few different pilots. The only one who really matters winds up being Loon Divinian,
who goes by Div.
Who goes by Div now. And if you remember, Loon went through lots of traumatic events at the end of Last of the Jedi. So, including, he thought maybe he was going to be a Jedi, but all these people died around him and all that stuff. So, anyway, one thing before we get into the rest of the book that I do want to mention is I read the backs of these books for the podcast. It's the cold open of this show. Always has been. Always will be, baby. God, I need to stop undercutting myself every time.
New Year's resolution.
Yeah, you're right. So I've noticed a trend these last couple books is that the backs of these books make it seem like X7 is the main character of Rebel Force. That he's like our main POV character. And it's like, I'm not saying he's not important, but like these books are largely from the perspective of our 3 classic leads. Like there's not like they're not even really mentioned. They're not. Luke isn't mentioned on the back of this book. I'm not going to read it because the listeners
you've already done it. Yeah,
they already heard me read it, but it's just about like how X7 needs to, has failed to complete that mission, and he needs to figure out a way to complete the mission.
Something I also want to point out on the back of this book too, because that is weird. But on the back of this book, on the back of each book we have like an illustration that's like not used on the front cover, and on this one we have Han, Chewie, and Luke. And
Luke in a very silly outfit.
That's what I want to talk about is Luke's outfit, because it's like this very 70s orange, yellow with a big brown collar.
Dressed like David Cassidy, He's like, I think I love you. What am I so afraid of?
And he's like definitely like wearing like khakis too. So yeah, very interesting. And it also looks like Chewie is standing. Chewie is not like on the saddle of this creature. Chewie is definitely just like standing there.
I do love that.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that shirt.
That's a good segue because
that illustrator, by the way, who drew that funny shirt is Randy Martinez. Shouts to Randy.
Oh man, I love Randy. So, love Randy from Scream. Yeah, my favorite character. Maybe.
I bet you're all excited. His niece shows up in the 5th movie.
I saw Five Cream over the weekend, and It's whatever.
Quick, I rank the 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Nice.
Well,
okay.
no, wait, no, 5, 4. 5, 4.
Okay, all right.
I wanted to be cute, but no, it's really 5's better than 3 too. 3's really bad.
Yeah, it is. 3 is like on my lowest. I haven't seen 5.
1, 2, 5, but it's closer to those bottom 2 than the top 2. That's what I'll say.
Like, the top 2 were so high.
Oh yeah, two is a masterpiece.
Friend of the show, foe of the show, Sam McCauley.
Oh my God, this is so annoying.
Yeah, because he's like, you see Scream yet? And I go, no, Mel hasn't seen any of them, and and they're all over different streaming platforms. I don't want to have to pay for things, so I'm not. Yeah,
I would say she probably only has to watch the first 2.
That's what he told me, but he also told me that he's only watched the first one. It's like,
because the stupid retcon from 3 is not referenced at all, and like this movie does deal with like some of the original characters that are not alive. So like the retcon from 3 is just completely obliterated. Thank God, because it's one of the worst things ever. But secret brother or whatever.
Secret brother put up for adoption because he's this like studio like sex party baby. Like,
oh my God, it's just the worst. Anyway,
and now he's a big Hollywood director who's like making a movie that's like
the
about
worst.
Scream, but he's also like trying to kill everybody.
Well, my biggest thing with Scream is that the first movie's a masterpiece. Like the first movie is unimpeachable. The second movie takes the concept as far as it can go, I think. Like, I really don't think... Because then, once you've already done, like, all the sequel stuff, doing, like, reboot stuff or trilogy stuff is just a variation of the same idea. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, like, whatever. Like, there's, like, a couple funny bits. It's not really a spoiler. It's not like a mystery that's solved, but like there's a funny bit where like the most recent stab is hated by fans and it's directed, quote, by the Knives Out guy. I thought that was pretty funny. That's like a good joke. I appreciated that.
That's an incredible joke.
and Ryan Johnson's thanked in the credits. He has a special thanks, which I thought was funny. But like, I don't know. Like,
you know what you have to rank in with the Scream movies too is of course the Scream scene from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, where the joke is the killer is a monkey. Which I think is more compelling than
that's
the third
number
movie.
3. That's number 3. And Jay, I forgot how like completely nothing that Jay and Silent Bob cameo in 3 is. By the way, I was like, oh, like that scene will be funny at least, but like they're literally in it for less than like 5 seconds. It's crazy.
Well, I'm talking about Wes Craven showing up in.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, okay.
It reminded me of the other thing.
I had forgotten about that they were in Scream 3, but that's so strange. The fact that Jay and Silent, they tried to push Jay and Silent Bob as like the next Cheech and Chong in a way, and they would just show up in things like Degrassi. Like,
oh, love that episode. That's a classic.
It's just wild that the way they like push.
I wanted us also use this platform that the new Degrassi that was just announced for HBO Max. You must make Spinner the fucking snake of this series, of this generation. If you're listening, Degrassi writers, I'm sure you are. You love this show. You must do this. Okay. Let's get back to the book.
Okay. So he X7 makes Div, aka Loon, the leader, and he happens to know where Luke Skywalker is heading on his next mission. So chapter 2, we find out that Luke, Han, and Chewie, along with Rogue Squadron, are heading to Camino. And the reason they're heading to Camino is because that's where them cloners are. And, of course, there's some dark magic going on there, too. And but they're going to Camino because forever the Kaminoans have had an Imperial base there. And suddenly the Imperial occupation has vanished. They have left Camino. So they're going to get sent to Kamino to investigate, see if they can find out any secrets. Meanwhile, Leia, she is going to Mon Calamari on a diplomatic mission to Mon Calamari, and
He's on a diplomatic mission to Mon Calamari.
Yeah,
I can't. It doesn't matter.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor.
Take her.
Oh, my favorite line was, "If this is the consular ship, then
where is the ambassador?"
The delivery of ambassador.
Where is the ambassador? Oh. You know what's good is Star Wars, the original Star Wars.
I rewatched the original Star Wars
so
last month. It's so good.
It's the best one.
And there's so much shit that when you are watching the movie for the first time, they show you something and you're just confused by what you're even looking at. 3PO is wandering through the desert and he goes, "Oh, a transport, I'm saved," and then they show you off in the distance and it's just a desert and there's a tiny black triangle there, and it's what so am I looking at?
The mystery and the majesty.
Yeah,
listen, we talk about the depths of the EU on this podcast, and as good as some of these books are, none of it retains that mystery or that majesty.
No, and none of the sequels do either. Empire, Return of the Jedi don't have that either.
No, the original is just that's a work of fucking art right there.
It is.
It's perfect. Anyway, we talk about that every other episode. I feel we're the first one's the best one.
Well, Han, they're not taking the Falcon.
So they take a bunch of old fighters, prequel era fighters, because they don't want to look too obviously rebellion.
Yeah. Han and Leia have a very flirty kind of moment there.
Classic Empire stuff going on.
Where they're arguing, but they're flirting, and Han doesn't want to admit that he's going to miss her. She doesn't want to admit that she's going to miss him. And then they have a moment where they, at the very end of their conversation, where they whisper, it's "Oh, be safe," "Oh, I wish you safe travels too." So anyway, we go to Kamino, and of course, the whole group, they enter the airspace, space around Kamino, and they get attacked by X7's 5 pilots, and they end up getting caught in a tractor beam that pulls Han, Luke, and Chewie down to the planet's surface, along with 3 of the pilots, the assassin pilots, including Lune. And when we get to Kamino, Han, he gets out of the ship, and we find out that Han, Anakin Skywalker, who hates sand, Han hates rain.
Oh.
They went out of the way that Han is just I despise rain.
I hate rain.
Yeah.
It's all wet. It's all wet and hard.
I watched episode 2 last night.
Oh my god, you are a freak.
Well, the reason I did it is because I wanted to watch the Jango Fett stuff to see Tamura, because
see what matches, what doesn't.
Right, yeah. And it's amazing. Tamura has to do so little in that movie, and he now has to do so much to carry the Boba Fett performance.
I love him.
It's wild. And also, I'll mention too, I didn't notice this, there's a droid that shows up in the latest episode, and that droid also shows up in episode 2. I had no idea until I was watching episode 2 yesterday and saw oh shit, there's that droid. I thought that was a new droid. Okay.
Very cool.
Anyway.
So the other...
go ahead.
So the big thing here is that Lune has shut himself off emotionally, and when they're here now, this is my problem with the book. Because I gotta say, this is the weakest of these books so far, by far.
Yeah.
Anyway, this book is all about beasties. There are so many beastie battles in this book. It was just a slog in places. The character stuff is strong. Don't get me wrong. But it was a dang ass slog, in my opinion. And oh, God. Anyway, so...
Because we probably don't even have to, go deep into this book.
Because basically, this is the important... Let's go through the important stuff. So basically, they battle some beasties. Han and Chewie are separated from Luke. They have to find each other. They get around to it. They find each other. But in the meantime, Luke has been attacked by
or not attacked, but has been confronted by Loon, and Loon, the other. By the way, Wedge and the other Red Squadron people, where the fuck did they go?
They peace out.
They left, right?
They leave. Yeah, they straight up leave.
That's explicit. They left
because somebody has to tell Leia at the end of the book.
Oh, right. Okay, okay. Never mind. So, not enough Wedge, in my opinion, in this book. I got very excited that Wedge was coming along, and then But anyway, so all the other hired assassins that X7 hired, they die. They get eaten by beasties or whatever.
A tentacle creature.
A tentacle creature, yes. And Loon and Luke agree to work together to get off the planet, because Loon's like, hey, I was ordered to shoot down something. I'm not going to, kill you in cold blood. Even though, obviously the same thing, but, I get why those feel different, That'll weigh differently on his soul and whatnot.
Right. Then through the course of their adventure, Loon discovers that Luke has a lightsaber and that he's force sensitive.
Well, they both get eaten by a beastie.
Yes.
Han and Chewie believe that reasonably this means Luke is dead, so they're devastated.
Mm-hmm.
R2 knows something though, and R2's like, no, we're staying here. We're not leaving. And because Han doesn't understand R2, he's just like, what's this droid on about, this bucket of bolts, etc., etc. And so, but in the meantime, they're in the belly.
There is a moment though where Han's like, well, we have to get out of here, but I lost Luke. I can't lose this droid either. He goes back they have to go back for R2. That Han is he recognizes, we have to take R2 with us.
And so, Luke and Loon are in the belly of this beastie, and and Luke's trying to figure out what's going on. He lights up his lightsaber. Loon's like, whoa, what's all this then?
Mm-hmm.
And, he's very dismissive of it, trying to be like,
Now this does, I do want to talk about something on page 6970. I do a little bit of reading here, because this gives us a little backstory as to some characters from Last of the Jedi that we don't know what's happened to them.
Yes.
So, on page 69, Luke laughed. Who do you think sent you out here to kill us?
None of your business, Div said angrily. But I assure you it wasn't the Empire. I don't know why I'm talking like tomorrow. I apologize.
Jabba ruled in fear. Panthers.
I intend to rule with respect.
Man, there's this one line I want to say that I can't say it because it'll spoil the fourth episode for you. It won't be a spoil, but it's such a
I need to hear it in context.
Yeah.
I'll text you if I can figure out what it is.
It's so silly. It made me laugh so hard. Oh, man. Okay. Why? Because they told you so? Luke's sarcasm was heavy and awkward, and Div could tell that it wasn't a tone the rebel adopted often. But the taunt was harder to shrug off than it seemed to have been. Div liked to tell himself that he didn't do business with the Empire. But these days, when you followed money, you often found yourself at the Emperor's doorstep. If it wasn't the Empire, it was Jabba's gang. And if it wasn't Jabba, it was Jabba, and if it wasn't Jabba, it's Zizor and the Black Sun.
I love how I went from jokingly correcting you to
actually genuinely correcting me. And and when you dug deep enough, there was no real difference between them. They were all bloodthirsty thugs who acquired a taste for power. If it was true that Div had never knowingly worked for any of them. But ignorance was easy when you didn't want to know. Do you want to do that part, since it's his inner monologue?
What would Trevor think? The thought popped into his head without his permission, and he blotted it out just as quickly. He knew exactly what Trevor would have thought, that he'd sold out, abandoned his principles, abandoned his people, that he'd given up, just like Clea, who was the other assassin who died. and was now just waiting to die. But Trevor wasn't the one but Trevor was the one who'd died. The Empire had taken his mother, his stepfather, everyone he'd ever known or cared about, not to mention Rygall, Solace, Garen Muln, all the names and faces he'd forced himself to forget. And Div had learned his lesson. You did what you needed to do to survive, even if it meant keeping your head down and your mouth shut.
Yeah, so that's we get all the Last of the Jedi characters there mentioned, and unfortunately, it seems that they have not made it.
Yeah,
and
I get some of them at least could not have made it.
Yes,
it makes sense.
Yes, because Rygall and Garen Muln are Jedi. Solace is a Jedi too. And then the mother, Astri, and I can't remember the stepfather. He was that real slick guy in Last of the Jedi. And then
I can't remember his name, but he was. And
they get together, and then they take Trevor in as
I was so happy for Astri. So it's like I don't mind necessarily that the Jedi, or at least some of the Jedi, might have died.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's a little it bums me out because I feel like the implication of that ending is not happily ever after necessarily.
No,
obviously, but it's not. It's also I think some of those characters. I think especially a character like Astri and her new husband and Trevor and Loon, I think that family unit could easily, I think if all the his Jedi mentors had died,
mm-hmm.
and he just never trained as a Jedi, I think you could achieve, I think them coming back at this point in the timeline as a family unit would be really interesting.
Yep.
But what you gonna do? I guess a lot of them knew, some of them might have known Anakin was Darth Vader, and you couldn't have them encounter with Luke Skywalker.
Right, because Astri would have known.
Yeah, so I get there's basic narrative reasons that at this point you can't have at least you can't have those characters interact with our main characters, so it's just a bit of a Last of the Jedi ends in a pretty bleak fashion anyway, and it's but some of the characters do survive, you know what I mean? And and it's a bummer that's actually all the characters except Loon and Ferris, every character that you cared about in Last of the Jedi is dead.
It's gone.
That's a little bit of a okay, fine. I get it, but it's also not my favorite.
It could have been left. Well, so they have another reference to those characters later, because they say his stepfather and mother were taken. It doesn't say they're dead, but the later reference.
Oh yeah, you're right. Had taken his. Oh, we might get them.
Now, hang on. There is the later reference, so let me read that. This is on page 126. Twisted shards of Durasteel, like smoldering remnants of the safe house, the last place he had seen Trevor before the Empire arrived. And once again, they would leave him alone, surrounded by death. That's my job, isn't it? He thought wryly, refusing to allow the flood of self-pity. I live while all of those around me die. The galaxy needs you, they said, sacrificing themselves so he could survive. You are our hope. But that hope had been crushed, flattened like everything else. No, he thought, furious with himself. This wasn't the time to lose oneself in memories. He was no one's salvation, and that boy, that Loon, no longer existed. He was Div now, nothing more. Loon was dead as his parents, Loon was dead as his parents, as dead as his adopted brother, as dead as all that special, extraordinary potential that so many had wasted their lives to protect. Dead as I'm going to be if I don't snap out of it, Div thought irritably, and then that they go back to the story there. So, unfortunately, that sort of confirms that.
Yeah, that's a weird, because the other part is just that they got. That's weird. I don't know. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Whenever our two surviving characters reunite, which I assume by the back of the next book. is them.
Yes. I would
Jason
well, we know Jason Alexander is Ferris, which is hilarious. Anyway, so basically this book, though, like, Luke wants to, like, trust Div, but because of what happened with X7, he's nervous to do so. So basically the rest, most of this book is spent with them trying to escape all these beasties, many of whom are genetically enhanced by this Kamenian scientist.
That's why the place is abandoned, because the monsters ate everybody.
Yeah, and so they wind up eventually escaping, but when they escape, what's here? Oh, it's a bunch of TIE fighters. Oh, and they fight TIE fighters, and then a Star Destroyer shows up, and they're like, oh fuck, and Loon's about to sacrifice himself to save Luke, and it's kind of like, it's a nice moment where he's like, he's kind of reckoning with what he's done with his life since all this tragedy befell him. And then who comes but the Millennium Falcon, piloted by C-3PO, who's being ordered to pilot the Millennium Falcon. No, Leia's piloting.
Yeah.
C-3PO's on the gunner, which is a very funny image. I like that.
The idea of, like, 3PO having to climb that ladder and get in the seat seems impossible to me.
Yeah, very funny. But so she comes in with reinforcements, all kinds of rebel blockade runner, etc. And they, like, put up a good fight, and the Star Destroyer is like, you know what? This ain't worth it. They jump to hyperspace. So everybody's lives are saved. Han and Leia have a, back and forth where they're arguing about who saved who and whatnot, and then eventually Han begrudgingly compliments her piloting, and she's very flattered by that, but doesn't want to let him know that she's flattered by it. Classic dynamic stuff. And then
Loon is coming with us.
Loon is in handcuffs because, they just went through kind of a similar situation from their vantage point with X7, where, he presented himself as this guy with a tragic backstory who's very sympathetic. But Luke's just like, I can't trust you yet, but they've agreed they're going to be taking him back to Yavin 4, and they're going to figure out what to do with him, presumably in the next book. But Luke is also like, I know that X7 is the guy who hired Loon, and, like, I'm going to get it confirmed. I'm going to make sure Loon confirms it for me, and I'm going to get my revenge, which, again, not a very Jedi-like thing. Luke,
no.
you got to chill the fuck out, man.
Yeah, he deals with a little bit of anger there, so. Is that your
another
third?
Coke.
Is that your? Oh, is it the second one? Okay, I didn't know if that was your third or not.
I'm not going 3 is extreme. I don't know, but I'm extreme. I need to relax. Okay. Making me feel bad on my
You're
own podcast.
so extreme, Tim. You're the most extreme person I know.
So
you know what? It made me laugh. I watched River's Edge today, which we talked about off the air at the beginning.
Yeah.
And Keanu's younger brother is named Tim, the brother who goes to try to, like, kill him, like, later. And the whole time I was thinking about you. I was like, this is probably how Tim was.
What the fuck?
always trying to kill your brother Dan, like, 'cause he was just always putting you down.
No. It's so weird that all of my friends think my name is so funny.
Because it is.
What is funny about it? It's a name.
It's like a one-syllable name, so it's easy to roll off the tongue.
Okay, listen. I think anybody who's friends with somebody who makes fun of their name is being an asshole in general.
Okay.
Let me just say that up front. Like, so I and obviously no name is, like, quote, more normal than any other name, but we live in our milieu, which is, white, near Midwestern America. Tim is a very ordinary name, I don't really understand why it's seen.
But it's not.
Just for context for listeners, you, friend of the foe of the show, Sam McCauley, friend of the show, Brooke White, all find just the utterance of my name hysterical. And I do not understand.
Let me rephrase it then, because it's not just the name, it's also you, because you are quite the character in our lives.
I'm fine with it. I am a character.
You bring us
all
joy.
Of you are absolute maniacs and characters. I do think it's hilarious. I think if you lined the four of us up, and I'm pointing you three out because you're the three most guilty of this. Line the four of us up in front of a neutral body, I would say you would be judged the most normal, I would be judged the second most normal, and those other two fucking freaks would be like, who are these maniacs? They're both Kramers on our show. Like, you know, like, you're the fucking Jerry. I'm George, I guess.
You're George? Yeah, you're George.
And fucking, like, we got two Kramers, if that's our foursome. Certainly no Elaine's, who's, like, actually a normal person who's also just venal and selfish. You know?
Yes, no, we don't have that.
I don't know. That was a weird tangent.
But you know what's funny, though? So that movie, you got the younger brother named Tim. The director...
River's Edge, you're talking about.
Yes, River's Edge. The director...
The listeners might have forgotten at this point.
Yeah. The director's name also Tim.
Oh, Tim...
I gotta look up...
he didn't really make a lot of other movies.
No, he didn't. He, let's see here. His last name is Tim Hunter. And then... we watched Desperately Seeking Susan, which was produced by the same producer team.
Directed by Susan Seidelman.
Yes, they like
you think I
Tim
don't know
and
that?
Susan. I knew you knew that, but the fact that
Susan?
yeah.
What's the Susan reference?
Desperately Seeking Susan. The name is in the title. Madonna is Susan, and it's directed by Susan.
Okay, I thought you were talking about, I was like, do I know a Susan? Are you like
No. I'm just, it's ironic that the directors also have characters named their same name
true.
In the movie.
Madonna is Susan. She is Susan.
Yes.
A great movie. I love Desperately Seeking Susan.
It's great.
Wild ass mid-'80s New York shit.
It reminded me of After Hours. Maybe
it's the same. I think it's literally the same year.
Yeah. And that's also Rosanna Arquette in that one too, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
I knew it was an Arquette. I just wasn't sure if it was Rosanna.
Speaking of Scream, there you go.
David. Shouts to David.
He's very good in the new one. By far the best performance in the new movie, or of the old cast.
Right.
No shots. I mean, Nev does a fine job. She's good. But no real shots at Courtney. She just, I feel like that character is pretty exhausted at this point.
Yeah, I heard a thing on. So I was listening to the Pittsburgh NPR station on my phone at work.
You texted me about this, and I was like, "Is he like in the area? Like, why is he listening to Pittsburgh NPR?"
Well, because I've been listening to Houston NPR, which is pretty good, but they're heavily focused on Texas politics, which is a fucking wreck. Just a nightmare of politics. Right. And I was like, I need Pennsylvania. I'm going to see if the Erie NPR, WQLN, has an app. They don't, but Pittsburgh does. So
we have ours is pretty small. So.
Yeah, so I was listening to the Pittsburgh one, and the first thing I hear on there is they have this panel of horror experts, and they're talking about why I Know What You Did Last Summer has had such longevity.
My God.
But they barely talked about I Know What You Did Last Summer. They mostly just talked about Wes Craven and Scream, and then like the new Scream.
Wes Craven has nothing to do with that. That's Kevin Williamson. If you're going to talk about I Know What You Did Last Summer and its relationship to Scream, talk about Kevin Williamson. They
barely talked about Kevin, and then the host made this remark about Five Cream that it should have been the title.
I wish it was Five Cream so much.
Just like Fate, F8 should have been Fate. But the host goes, "Oh yeah, the original actors come back in the new one. They probably had to work less than a week and got paid a pretty good amount," is what she said. So I assumed that the original cast is in it kind of slim.
Yeah, I don't know if it was less than a week, but like, I mean, I don't know if that person understands how movies are shot, because I would less than a week seems low to me.
Well,
but yes.
the trailer presents Neve as the main character. Sidney Prescott is the main character.
Nev is not the main character.
Okay, all right.
No, she's in it, but no, yeah, not the main character. I would say David Arquette has the biggest role of any.
Okay. Well, he has the least going on, probably, so he has the time.
And Nev doesn't have much going on.
You're probably
no shots at Nev. I love her. Dude.
Well, Courtney doesn't either, but Courtney has.
But she has
money.
friends money forever. That's a different thing. Yeah, so that's a different. You're at a different level, even if you're not working much. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so
you're still making $30 million a year based off of royalties of the TV show you made over 20 years ago.
I think about it sometimes where I'm like, even people who were stars of sitcoms that just had a few years in syndication are so fucking rich.
I know.
If you think about the people that are on like Seinfeld, Friends, Cheers, Frasier, like, it's deranged.
It is.
Like, think about it. Like, they're just still making money as if they were currently making the show.
And you know who has to make crazy money is Danson, because Danson
must be bloated. Like, I mean, listen, Danson is, I think, like the best television actor in the history of the United States. Like, He's been on tons of great shows. He's great in any kind of role. And Cheers is my favorite sitcom of all time, and he's fucking incredible in it.
It's incredible.
But Cheers alone, obviously, he never had to work again after year 6 of Cheers, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he never had to work again, probably earlier than that, even, like, in reality. But even by like, Hollywood entertainment standards, you want to live in a nice house in L.A. or whatever, those kinds of standards. Probably even by, like, year 6 or 7 of Cheers, he was set forever. But then that show goes on for 11 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, and it's still in syndication. Not as robustly as Friends and Seinfeld, but still you can find it. It's pretty easy to watch. And then he has a show that Becker, that no one really remembers, is mostly remembered because Matt Weiner of Mad Men fame, that was his first writing job, which is a hilarious thing. But like, that show lasted, 5 or 6 years?
Six, and it has 129 episodes.
And it was in syndication. I'm sure it's probably, like, maybe it's on something still, but that show is basically out of circulation. But it was in syndication for at least 5 or 6 years. So he made tons of money on that. Then he had a few seasons of CSI.
Yep.
Which is on all the time.
Then The Good Place, which runs for 4 seasons.
That's not going to be a syndication show.
No, but he's just gone from one show to another. Now he's on Mr. Mayor,
which is very good, by the way, very funny show.
And he shows up occasionally in Curb Your Enthusiasm, and is always hilarious in Curb.
The best.
He is like a tour de force. He is like
he had such a funny episode of Curb. Not this past season, really, but the last season, like the one from like a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Anyway, so
I recently saw the episode where Larry gets a sandwich named after him, and but the sandwich is like disgusting, and he wants to take Ted's sandwich, and they want to switch sandwiches. Then Richard Lewis gets a sandwich, and it becomes a whole thing.
Oh, I love it. Well, this book, what do you want to give it, this book?
I'm going to give this book a 9, unfortunately. This book is not conceived in midichlorians, as the first 3 were. It is a step down, but it's still good. I'm pumped
for the end game here.
Yeah, I am too. We got 2 books left, and we got Loon and Ferris probably going to reunite in the next book, and what's going to happen with X7. we got is Vader going to find out here pretty soon? Because this is where this is all spinning to. Is Vader's going to find out that Luke Skywalker is his son because of what X7 has discovered?
So this, I'm actually going to go a little lower, 8.
Okay, all right.
All the same reasons. Too many beasties. People know how I feel about beasties. Maybe if we do a clip show for I'll finally set my complicated parody to a karaoke track and get going. The real heads know what I'm talking about. That was a while ago. Next week is book 5 of Rebel Force, Trapped. Mm-hmm. Now I had a few ideas going back along. At first I was like, should we listen to an album by Trapped, the Knockdown, Take You On, Headstrong.
Oh yeah.
I thought that would be funny, but then I looked it up and now they're like fucking QAnon freaks. I don't want to talk about that.
Oh yeah, it's not a good idea. No.
So I don't really want to talk about that. But I was looking into it. I was like, what movie has Trapped in the title? And I saw the only movie I could find was Trapped in Paradise, which is a Christmas movie with Nicolas Cage, John Lovitz, and Dana Carvey. But it's like too much just past Christmas. If this was a month ago, I would have been so excited. Like I would have been like, oh fuck, we're watching this Nick Cage, Dana Carvey, John Lovitz movie. But and then I looked into it. I was like, oh, it'd be great. It's like, if Levi were up here, we could get together and do a live recording. We could play Mousetrap on the air. that would have been stunning. But then I was like, I looked up Mousetrap on Wikipedia and I saw there was a British game show.
Oh,
that I'm blanking on the name of the actual broader show, but it had a segment where they had like a full-size Mousetrap that's based on the thing. And there are several episodes of this on YouTube. And one of the hosts of this show, this is from like the late 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
One of the hosts of this show is Andrea Arnold, the filmmaker who made like Fish Tank and American Honey.
Uh-huh.
Like, she was like the host of this like kids game show in the late 80s. I just find that very weird. But I don't know if honestly, I feel like I blew all our material by just saying that. Like, is that the only interesting thing to talk about?
We've never talked about game shows on the show, so we could have a game show discussion.
Okay. We can watch a couple of these episodes.
Now, I do see that there is a children's Halloween themed game show that ran on BBC called Trapped. It ran from 2007 to 2010. Like I said, Halloween theme.
All these holidays that it's not holidays.
Okay. All right. I say we try to watch an episode of Trapped, and then we should watch that Mousetrap thing. If we can find them both on YouTube.
I know the Mousetrap thing. There are several of them on YouTube.
Okay, so send me one of those.
Links to those.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can find Trapped. The more recent game shows are harder to find because I think they're still like.
Let's see here. Oh, I got some full episodes of Trapped here.
Great.
Yes, and they have a man. The host is a man in makeup. Like he looks like he came out of like a torture dungeon.
Okay,
sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm excited. So,
also a children's game show. That's gonna be fun.
All right, so
that's Trapped. And then something we forgot to do. We need to do this for the people keeping the Padawan Library wiki for the records. We did not give a midichlorian count to the Life Day Treasury. We forgot to give a midichlorian count. So I don't remember much of it. I remember not liking it compared to the other two books. So I'm going to give it a 6 midi-chlorians.
Oh, I'm going lower. That's a 4,
yeah,
baby.
Okay, all right. I don't know if I said this on the show. The previous 2 books have a Darth Kaldoth story, who is the original creation of George Mann, and I had hoped that we had a Life Day Darth Kaldoth story.
Maybe the Target exclusive version has one.
Yeah, maybe, because there is a Dothamir witch trap imprisoned in his mind. So they could have had a cheery little Life Day together. Who knows?
It could have been fun.
All right. Well, we got that out of the way. Now the bookkeepers can ratify that on the page.
The other thing I wanted to say before we left is that I got this app, My Movies.
Okay.
Where I can log all my physical media by scanning the barcodes.
Oh, nice.
Which is fun. And I realized I have fewer movies than I thought I had. I only have like 650.
Wow. Where
films
were you thinking
in my library.
You were at?
I thought it was a little over 1,000. But I must have just sold off enough of them over the last few years. But that'll fill back up, especially now that I'm a 4K freak. Like
now that you know the number's low, now you're just like, well, I can justify a few more, of course.
No.
I can fit a few more on the shelf, of course.
Oh my god! Like, there's so many releases. Like in March alone, there's just so many. Like the American Werewolf in London 4K. Gotta get that. There's the Piano 4K is coming out next week. Gotta get that. Fucking too many things. So Criterion just announced the fucking Girl Can't Help It, which is this great early rock and roll movie with star of Promises, Jane Mansfield. But it has a bunch of Fats Domino and a bunch of early rock and roll performances strung together with a silly narrative. And I gotta get that.
You gotta get that.
I'm a maniac. I don't know what to do with myself, but it's fine. All right.
Sorry.
This episode's gone extremely long. I guess not as long as I thought, now that I'm looking at the time.
No, it's only been an hour and a half. So
okay.
Good.
It's a normal size episode. So, but we'll be back next week to talk about that book and to talk about those game shows. But
we'll have to post links on the Twitter, so look for those to know what we're talking about.
Sure. All right. Well, do you remember how to end the show?
Until the books are due back?
The library is open?
That doesn't seem right.
Oh, it's closed.
Oh,
it's closed.
That's it. Wow. You think we'd know that.
Yeah.
Padawan Library is hosted and produced by Tim May and Levi Peretic. It is edited by Tim May. Our theme song is by The Astral Project. Our artwork is by Freddie Funbuns. Padawan Library is copyright 2022. Tim May and Levi Peretic. All rights reserved.